Welcome, 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 everybody, to In the Loop Lupus Live with Lupus in Color. We are so excited to be with you today. We have an incredible lupus warrior that we're going to talk to about her fight and how she's defeating lupus every single day. But of course, before we do that, we have to start off with our disclaimer. So let me bring that disclaimer on up on the stage so we can read it together. This is the event and posting disclaimer. The information and our answers provided during Lupus in Color videos and live events are not meant to be used as a substitute for professional medical advice. The information contained in any video or live event is not intended to recommend the self management of health problems or wellness. It is not intended to endorse or recommend any particular type of medical treatment. Should any attendee have any health care related questions, promptly call or consult your physician or healthcare provider. Persons accessing this information assume full responsibility for the use of the information and understand and agree that Lupus in Color or its presenters are not responsible or liable for any claim, loss, or damage arising from the use of the information. So now that we have that all out the way, remember, we are giving you all of our lupus warriors are here to share their story with you, not to give you medical advice. If you have any major questions that require medical advice, please make sure that you check with your doctor. So, like I said, tonight we are going to be speaking with Miss Shannon Mackie. I'm so excited to bring her up, and I'm so excited for you to hear her story because it is absolutely amazing. You're going to learn so much from her. So, let's bring her up, and then we'll start our conversation. Hi, Shannon.
Hi.
How
Hi.
are you?
I'm doing good. Having a good day.
Awesome. I love to hear that. Good days are always good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about how you got diagnosed with lupus and how long you've been diagnosed?
Okay. Well, like I said, way back when dirt was new in 1983, back in the dinosaur days when they roamed the earth, which I know a lot of people actually, we've been surviving longer due to new treatments and due to all these great new discoveries that have been happening with lupus, which I am very excited about. I see all the new treatments every day. I get so excited when I see all the
Longer due to new treatments and Absolutely. Go ahead. I'm sorry. That
yeah
was that was
back, huh?
Insta yeah, that was Instagram trying to come on. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I I was diagnosed back in 1983, and how I came to be diagnosed, I started out. I was a dancer when I was young, and I was starting to have joint pain. That was my very first symptom.
Mm.
And my mother was an RN, and she thought it was growing pains. She thought nothing about it. She didn't think it was anything unusual. We had a beach house. I used to get tanned all the time. The second other symptom I had was all of a sudden I got a horrible, horrible sunburn. I never sunburned before. I had olive skin, which I tanned dark. I got a terrible sunburn. So my mother was like, "What is going on with you getting this terrible?" It was almost like sun poisoning. And she was extremely worried about me then because I'd never sunburned before. Still, it didn't ring off any alarms in her head yet. The next thing that happened to me, that was in the summer. Then is I had caught chicken pox the summer before, which is very important because we talk about viruses and especially that chicken pox type virus. I've heard a lot of people with viruses. I had caught that the summer before. Mind you, I have been sick my whole life as a kid. I'd always had stomach problems, sinus problems, all these problems going on as a little kid. I've been in the hospital at 6 years old was the first time I'd been in the hospital.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, I've always been a little sick as a child. Anyway, back to going to school. We took our little blood samples that we were going to look under the microscope, and everybody else's blood sample was nice and red. Mine was orange. I
Hmm.
orange blood. I,
Wow.
I was anemic, severely anemic. And
Wow.
my teacher called my mom and said, "You need to get this child to the doctor immediately. I don't know how she's walking around with this kind of blood. Yeah.
Wow.
And my mom, as an RN, began to freak out because she was like, how can I let my child walk around like this? Immediately picked me up at school and took me to the doctor. Well, when I went to the doctor, he freaked out because he started looking at my actual blood and they thought it was Hodgkin's lymphoma or leukemia. They put me in the hospital immediately.
Wow.
Immediately.
And how old were you?
I was 13.
Wow.
And they called in a hematologist oncologist.
Mm.
And that doctor was looking at my blood and I had, by that time, I had, and as a kid, you just don't think of things that are swelling up and I was a kid. I
Right.
had, I didn't even realize my lymph nodes is swollen up.
Mm.
And my doctor took out a lymph node under my arm. He said it was as big as a golf ball.
Wow.
I didn't even realize that. You know,
Wow.
they dissected it, sent part of it to Duke University because Duke University and Duke Medical is still really big into lupus research.
Right.
But they were very on the frontier, very early with it back in the 80s. And
Okay.
he sent that, and Duke helped diagnose me with lupus. And that's how I got it. He came back in, I'll never forget. He said, she should be in a coma right now. My
Wow.
red blood cell count was 3.
Oh my goodness.
He
Oh.
said, what is she doing awake? I said, I have a show to do. I was supposed to be in a show, singing, dancing, right?
Right.
I'm awake. I said, I got to get out of here. I've got to do a show. And he said, you're going to show right now.
You're gonna sit here and you're gonna get well, kids. Cut it out.
Yeah, he said, I got to give you. And I said, well, what's wrong with me? And he said, you have lupus.
Mhm.
And my whole family said, they're all around me going, what's lupus? Can she live with this?
Right. Right.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, she can live with it. But she's going to have to do a few things. And the first thing I had to do was take these steroids. And that's when I gained a ton of weight. I was a little bitty thing. I mean, little. I didn't even wear a 0. I think I was still
Wow.
kids 12 at that point.
Wow.
And I gained weight and I finally got in a 5. But I gained a bunch of weight. And my classmates, when I went back to school, didn't even know who I was because
Yeah.
and
That's
that was
well.
really painful to go through as a kid.
Right.
Gaining all the weight. I'll never forget the emotional. That's why I'm really on the page that I have. I'm really tied into doing the mental part on Mondays. I focus just on mental because there's such an emotional and mental part to lupus.
Right. I mean, at 13, how were you even able to comprehend what
I
was going
wasn't.
on?
I wasn't ready. I
Yeah,
wasn't ready.
I bet. I
I
bet.
wasn't. I like I said, my mom was a huge help to me.
Mhm.
Um, Kids were bullying me. Kids really were horrible. Kids are horrible
Yeah,
anyway.
it can be really rude. Yeah.
And they bullied me, and I'm fortunate that I didn't get more bullied than I did
Right.
because I had some really good people around me that helped me.
Right.
They helped me through it, and I was able to go into the office and the air conditioner because the school I went to was not air conditioner. It
Okay.
was air conditioned in the office, and they let me go in the office and sit in there because you don't know what steroids can do, make you extremely hot. And they allowed me to go in there. And there was one point I wasn't able to go to school because I was so sick. I mean, all through my teenage years,
Mm.
I was extremely ill. It attacked my heart. It attacked lupus. I was telling you earlier, lupus has loved my heart, my lungs.
Mhm.
It started attacking my kidneys later in my life, but it really loved my heart and my lungs from very early on. I've had
So,
2 surgeries.
wow. So you had issues from the beginning with your heart and your lungs and everything.
Yes, from the very beginning, it started attacking my heart. I would have, uh, I would have the endocarditis very early on. All of that. Yeah. Pericarditis immediately on. In my teenage years, I would go to the hospital and they would put me in for pericarditis and pleurisy. Pericarditis and pleurisy. That was a very common admission with lupus.
Wow. How did your parents handle that?
My dad didn't handle it so well.
Okay.
He felt, and the reason why, and I've studied all this now, and and the reason why is he wanted to be able to help me. As males want to be, and my husband's kind of the same way. They want to be as a caretaker, or
Right.
as a caregiver, as the men of of the family. He was
Right.
father. He wanted to be able to fix me. He wanted to be able to. I was his child, and he couldn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Wasn't able. He felt just so powerless
Yeah. Yeah. I
over it.
can imagine.
And my mother, she just would swoop in like Florence Nightingale and be the nurse, super nurse. She would spend nights with me at the hospital, and she couldn't do any more for me. She was, and I think my other brothers and sisters started, because I'm one of six now.
Okay.
And I think they kind of resented that because mom was always, you know, with me. And then 7 years later, my sister was diagnosed with
Mm.
lupus.
Wow.
And that's the sister that I dedicated Lupus Warrior Princess to, because she passed away at 30. So,
Mm.
yeah,
Whew. And that had to be hard to
that
have.
was
Yeah.
extremely, that's probably the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life, was
Yeah.
my sister. Yeah,
And now you dedicate your page to her and you do all
yeah.
the work.
Yeah, I dedicate all my work to her. Everything that I do on that page and everything, I do that in memory of her, because
Awesome.
she was my life force.
Yeah.
She was really someone that I wanted to emulate. She was such a good person.
Sure. 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 And now, so you said you yourself have lupus. Your sister had lupus,
My mother had it too.
and your mother had lupus.
My
Wow.
mother was diagnosed after my sister passed.
Wow. Okay. So later on in life.
Yes, she had a very stressful year that year. Her mother and her daughter passed away in the same year.
Wow.
My
That's
mom,
so.
my mom was tough as nails.
I know, right? It sounds like she was a tough cookie, man.
Smooth this up. That's my mom right there. That's a picture of her. My mom
Also.
was tough as nails, though. She
Yeah.
was the strength in our family. She was like amazing. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know many people like her, but she was God amazing.
And I'm sure you're just as amazing as she is as
I
well.
don't know about that. I
I
I
think
tried.
you are.
I tried, but I don't know about all that.
If the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree
Oh, oh,
at all.
try to be like my mom, but I'm just a tiny,
Yeah,
tiny bit.
yeah,
She's
absolutely.
amazing. But
So, so
go ahead.
when you created Lupus Warrior Princess, what was your goal with creating that page and dedicating that to your sister?
What I wanted to do, my sister was also a deeply spiritual person, so I wanted to help people and inspire people, and also with my spirituality, I include that every day
Okay.
in my morning greeting. I use how God inspires me to go on every single day, so I always try to include like a little Bible verse in my morning greeting. Um, and I include every day in I have daily every day there's a theme
Okay.
on my page. Like Monday is mental health Monday, Tuesday is gratitude Tuesday, and I
Yeah,
have
I love
posts.
it.
Yeah, I have posts. Well, Wednesday, I know a lot of people say Warrior Wednesday, but I have Wellness Wednesday,
Hmm.
because I think we talk about sickness too much with
Right.
lupus.
Absolutely.
So I like wellness, and I talk about things that we can do to help us do wellness with our
Right.
lupus, you know? And it's not just things that, because we're sick, we don't have to have sick thinking. We can do things like drink
Mm,
water. We can,
absolutely.
it's a lot. I think doing things like our self care is wellness. So
Hmm.
I do like two self care days, really, Wellness Wednesday and Self Care Saturday to me.
Mhm.
They're pretty much the same. So I really dedicate two self-care days out of the week because we need it. Our body is fighting itself. You
Right.
know, we need a lot of self-care.
Right.
And
You're not lying.
and then Thursday is Thankful Thursday. And then Friday, of course, is Lupus Fact Friday.
Right.
And that is when we have all the facts of lupus, and I present different facts every Friday. And then Sunday's kind of a free for all.
Awesome. Awesome. That's such an amazing job that you're doing. I love it.
I'm
I
trying.
love it. And I know it has to be taxing on you. I know it is.
It is, but I usually do it from my bed.
I completely understand that. I completely understand that. I know we have a question out here. I saw someone do a question.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Okay, Betty asked, "How long have you actually had lupus?"
I think that I've had it probably, let's see, I've been diagnosed 40 years. I've probably had it since I was about 6 or 8. So that's
Mm,
closer to, the real
yeah.
things most of my life, really.
So you don't. People often say, "My normal. I don't have any normal any longer." Lupus has been your normal.
Yeah, let me tell you what I had to get used to. What I have had to get used to, what I've called Lupus 2.0 now, is after 2016.
Mm,
Okay, that's getting used to being in a wheelchair.
mm,
And when my lupus became what I call uninvisible.
mm,
My lupus was invisible until 2016, and now it's visible because I wear oxygen and I'm in a wheelchair. I never did all that before. I was completely invisible. I was actually the poster child for invisible illness. No one could ever guess that I was sick because I
right.
always looked dressed to the nines. You would
Right.
have never guessed it, especially because I was this professional singer. No one knew.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I would never tell anybody except for, like when I went places that people were like, "Oh, you have lupus?" "Oh, yeah." Then I'd tell you all about it,
Right.
or the
Right.
hospital or whatever. But I wouldn't just advertise it,
Hmm.
you know.
Right.
So now, of course, that's a different story. I've been a different person since 2016.
So now tell me what happened in 2016 that created that whole
Everything.
invisible coming into the visibility of everyone else.
Okay, 2016, and what I really want to talk about is something that I never knew,
Hmm.
and that is called I was diagnosed. Actually, went into a coma. I was having a lupus flare up, and
Hmm.
I had a cold at the same time. Something not unusual, but for some reason, this this cold kept getting worse, and I was like, "What is going on?" I went to the doctor. She gave me antibiotics. Antibiotics did not work, and they looked at me and they were like, "We've got to admit you're really sick. Your lungs are filled with fluid. You've got pneumonia." That night that I was admitted, I coded in the unit on the floor. They had to put me. They brought me back and they put me in the ICU unit. At that point, my pulmonologist, God rest his soul, my pulmonologist told my husband and I he needed to put me on a ventilator.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah. So we prayed. My husband and I prayed
Hmm.
and made the decision that I would be put on a ventilator
Mm.
because my lungs just could not handle all the stuff. And he was trying to save me.
Yeah.
During that period that I was on the ventilator, I developed something called ARDS, and that's acute respiratory distress syndrome.
Mm.
That is something that people with lupus are very, very susceptible to getting. Now, my pulmonologist knew this, but what we did not know was that I had a virus, not a bacterial pneumonia.
Mm, mm,
He was treating me for a bacterial pneumonia, and
right.
he found out midway that I had a virus.
Mm,
Had I not had this brilliant pulmonologist who is also a critical care specialist treating me, I know I would have died. That put my chances down to a 3 to 5% chance of survival because I had lupus, because I had ARDS, because I had this virus.
mm,
5 weeks in a coma on that ventilator. I
wow.
came to finally, still on the vent, not remembering much of anything. I did hear people I could hear people talking to me in the coma.
Wow.
Mm. That's what I wanted to tell people. I said, "Oh, I could hear people,
Yeah. Yeah.
but those dreams in that coma, man,
Oh, were they crazy?
woo, were
Huh.
they crazy?" And I think it's because of the medication they gave me,
Sure, sure, sure.
but they were wild. And I was on the ventilator an additional 4 months.
After that.
Yes,
Mm,
because my lungs were just too sick.
yeah. But yeah, I guess, the whole, did they put you into a coma or you fell into a coma or
No, they put me into it.
right to let your lungs just rest? Yes.
They had to rest because they were so sick.
Oh,
And he thought my lungs would get better by the following December. They did not. They never got better.
they just continue to worsen.
They just continued to worsen. So the following year he diagnosed me with pulmonary fibrosis,
Mm,
and that's why I have to wear the oxygen. That's why I'm in the wheelchair, because my lungs now only have a 22% exchange, and that's not
right,
much.
that's not enough to sustain you for.
No, no. I am in what they call respiratory failure, end stage lung disease.
Mm.
So, yeah.
But here you are,
But here I am.
standing strong, still
Yes, ma'am.
smiling, still
Ab-
able to speak your truth.
Yes, absolutely. Because I have a God that loves me,
Absolutely.
and He put me here back in this body to tell people that it's okay. You can smile and live with lupus joyfully.
Yes, yes.
So that is why I'm here.
Oh, you're giving me goosebumps.
Oh, bless her, I'm glad.
Goodness, goodness, because it's such a your oh my goodness, it's such a testimony.
Yes,
And
he gave me that. He knew I had a big mouth. So,
that I love it. I love it. You're using it
yes,
to
he knew I'd use it too.
absolutely, absolutely. And I just love how positive you can be in spite of everything that you're going through because you know what,
Yes.
it's so hard the things that you've gone through.
Some days it's not easy either. It's some days I have to look at other strong warriors like yourself. That's why we have to pull each other up. We can't beat each other up. We have got to be strong for each other.
Absolutely.
And
I so agree with that. I so agree with that. What do you do when you have those hard days
that
and
I
it's
look
hard to get up?
well, I pray, of course. I
Yeah.
look to others. I try to, look to others for strength because I can't do it on my own.
Mhm.
That's why we have support groups. You know, that's what the support groups are for.
Yeah.
That's why I tell the new warriors that come on my page, do you have a support group? Do you have other warriors that you want to look for advice from? Because that's the most important thing, is looking to other warriors. I give them pages to look, your page, other
Oh,
pages
thank
to
you.
to help,
Yeah.
because I don't want them just looking at my page. That's
Right.
that's not going to do any good.
Right. Right. Right.
Looking at every page.
Yeah. Yeah. Get all the information that you can.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Pull in
Somebody,
from every page.
absolutely. Somebody on, what is this, Instagram, NC Val Loopy in North Carolina, the VA Loopy, I think that is. What a story. Thank God for being a healer.
Oh, thanks. Thank
Absolutely. Nothing but God, says Sexy Cruz. I love y'all names. Y'all names are so cute.
I love the Instagram Instagram names, aren't they?
Yeah, they're adorable. Kimberly says you're a great example. Someone says you're a
Oh,
40-year warrior.
thank
Um,
you, Kimberly.
it's
Oh,
amazing.
survivor indeed. Amen.
Absolutely.
But a
I
thriver too, not just a
yeah,
survivor, a thriver.
thank
Got to
you.
thrive.
Thank you.
Got
I
to
love that.
thrive.
I love that. That's the most important part. We can survive everything,
Hmm.
but we also have to thrive
Amen.
beyond it all. Absolutely.
We do, because it's not. That's one thing. My doctor, God rest his soul. I used to tell him. I said, I don't want to just survive this. I want to thrive. I
Yeah,
can't just survive. That's not living. And I
yeah,
always tell new warriors, what is a good doctor? How do you know a good doctor? A good doctor will say and ask you, how is your how are you living? How is your way of living going? How is your I'm trying to think of the word right now, but the
right.
thought hit me
Yeah,
hard.
how's your mental health?
How's
How
it?
how are
Yeah.
you living life beyond
Yes.
this?
Yes.
Yeah,
Fog's hitting me hard right now.
that's all right. That's all
But
right.
yes, how are you living? How's life going? Is everything going okay with your life? They don't just sit there and tell you what to do. They
Right.
ask you how you're doing with life.
Yeah.
That's a good doctor.
Yeah. How are
They
you walking through
read
each
off a
day?
computer screen.
Right. 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 And that's an important point that you're making because you want to make sure that you're having a great relationship with your doctor. It
Yes.
doesn't have to be stellar, but it has to be a relationship where it's a give and take for both
Yeah.
sides.
And for God's sakes, take care of your teeth.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Let's
the
not
biggest
talk
thing.
about teeth.
That's the biggest thing. Oh my God. If I could go back, everybody says, if you could go back, what would you tell a new warrior? I said, take care of your teeth because my gosh,
Yeah.
steroids ruined my teeth.
Yeah, steroids. You have steroids that ruin your teeth, chemotherapy that ruins your
Chemotherapy
teeth.
ruined my.
Oh my gosh.
If I could tell you how much I spent on my mouth, I could have a mansion and an island right now.
Listen, and I'd be right next door
Right?
because the amount of money that
Gosh.
this teeth is taking, it's
Yes.
like just take them all out.
I know. And my dentist is like, no, we don't want to take them all out yet. And I'm like, but you don't understand. It's costing me a fortune, and you're going on trips, and I'm not.
Right, right. I'm paying for your trips, and I want to go on
Right.
the trips
He's like talking about Madrid, and I'm going, but I didn't go there. You did.
off my money. Right.
Oh, my
I love it. I love it.
God.
Yeah, you got to take care of your teeth. You got to take care of your body.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, the self
Yeah.
care is so important.
It is. It is. Healthcare is so important. Very important.
It really is. Someone
Oh,
says, Betty says, okay, I had a similar problem. I just woke up and couldn't breathe. And
oh, Betty.
she was on ICU for 7 days. All they said was my lungs wasn't working well.
Oh, Betty. I'm
So
so sorry.
sorry.
Honey.
Yeah.
It's, lupus is horrible to your lungs. It really is.
Yeah. It can be
Uh,
very difficult. But Betty, make sure that you're talking with your doctor and make sure you see
yeah.
a pulmonologist. Maybe it's
Yeah.
time.
Yes, that's what I would suggest as well. If your lungs are involved with lupus, you really do, because there's something called it's pulmonary hypertension with lupus,
Yes.
and you really have to, and it's very serious,
Yes.
and you really do need to see a pulmonary doctor for it, because that is what's necessary to see. They can diagnose that.
Yeah. And make sure that you're checking with your doctor to make sure.
Absolutely, make sure
So-
the are working again.
Absolutely. But I'm so glad that you have made it through that
Yes.
difficult situation for sure.
Oh yes, ma'am. That. Oof,
Definitely. Definitely.
yeah.
Let's see if we have some other questions here for you. Betty says, she also says that she appreciates your testimony.
Oh, come
And,
on.
and she wants to follow you. And your Instagram is at
Look
Lupus
for your
Warrior
one.
Princess One. I'm going to put it in the chat room so
Okay.
everybody can see it and they can get it
And
from there.
on Facebook, it's Lupus Warrior Princess. All the rest of them are Lupus Warrior Princess.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Awesome. Let me tell you, your story is so compelling. It is just so amazing how you have thrived through all of this.
Well, I appreciate it. My husband has helped me so much in the last after 2016. I really have to give him his props
Yeah.
because he's been amazing.
It's
We have
important that caretaker support.
God, it is so important. That
Absolutely.
is extremely important. And we had not been married but 3 or 4 years when that happened.
Wow. Okay.
And my family was like, "Is he gonna leave her?"
Yeah.
No
Good.
kidding. No kidding. They were like, "Is he gonna
A
leave her?"
valid statement. Yeah.
Or I mean, it was valid because we were newlyweds, really. And
Hmm.
like, is he gonna stay with her because she's not gonna be well after this probably?
Yeah.
And and he stayed, and he's still here, taking care of me with the wheelchair and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
he's
He's a trooper.
he's a good man.
Yeah. It's always good to have a good support, whether
Yes,
it be a husband or whether it be a friend. Whatever it is, it's so important to have such a good support.
yes, and I have a good mother-in-law that really helps me out.
Oh,
Uh,
that helps a lot.
she's amazing. Little Irish woman.
So she's spicy, I'm sure.
Oh, she is, and I love her.
I love it. I love it. I can't put this one up. It's kind of long, but I'm going to read it to you. I'm having so many complications right now with my body. My body is producing too much insulin, which is
Mm.
causing my sugar to drop extremely low.
Oh my.
This causing me to have seizures and blackouts, in and out of hospital, having EEGs with no resolution. At the end of it, going back into the hospital for another week, coming up soon. I'm also having difficulties with walking, constant shaking and weakness in my legs, and extremely tired but frustrated because I cannot do my normal. How do I cope with this? I'm
It
gonna put.
sounds like your diabetes is not under control.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. It's definitely lupus is such. She's such a little heifer. That's the only way I can.
Oh man, I was gonna say a bad word, but
You can say the bad word if you like. It doesn't matter. But
she's a witch with a B.
I love it. I
She's
love
a
it.
witch with a B. I don't like lupus at all.
Yes, it can affect so many different things, and
Yeah,
with the low sugar, you definitely have to
get
make
so
sure.
many people get diabetes when they have lupus
Oh
because
yes,
of the steroids.
yes, that's how I
Steroids.
got it.
It's a side effect, and I'm surprised I never did. Knock on wood here. Um,
Right.
knock on wood because my husband has it.
Hmm.
I'm shocked that I never did because I was on grams of steroids at some point. Literally grams. They were dropping grams in my body. When I had my heart problems, they
Sure.
would drop grams in me.
Whew.
I know. I was signing papers if I die.
Right. Right.
You know, it
Yeah.
was crazy. Because I was up at UAB in Birmingham, Alabama, which is one of the better places to go for lupus.
Right.
And it was nuts. And that's the problem with lupus and is the steroids, the medications we have to take. In addition to lupus cause so many problems. I mean,
Yeah.
I would suggest for her that the first thing she's got to get under control is the diabetes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that the diabetes can be such a difficult thing to get under control. I'm actually type 2 diabetic from the steroids that I had, even though diabetes runs in my family. My son is type 1 diabetic, but you have to make sure that you're dealing with endocrinologists and making sure that you're getting
Mhm.
the proper medications and making
Yes.
sure that your sugar is coming up so that you're not having those seizures and those blackouts. I'm so sorry that you're dealing with that.
Oh, yes.
It's such a difficult thing to deal with.
Gosh, yes.
But get you a good endocrinologist that can teach you, about how to get your sugar up and right, and how
Amen.
to avoid those pitfalls, because that can
Poor thing.
be difficult.
Oof.
That can be so difficult. Sexy Cruz says, I have lupus in my joint and I work 90 hours. I'm exhausted. Any
Oh,
suggestions, girl?
oh my gosh.
Stop that 90 hours. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. I
that's too
know.
much. That's too
Yeah.
many hours.
Yeah, I know you need the money, baby, but you
My
know, I think the hardest thing, and you tell me, Shannon, if it was hard for you as well. I was diagnosed, I guess, my early 30s, and the hardest thing for me was to stop working.
The hardest thing for me was definitely I was a dancer and a singer,
Hmm.
and I curtailed my career around my lupus because I
Mm,
was diagnosed as a kid, pretty
right,
much.
right,
So that's why I made my career what it was at night, to do things at night, because
right.
I knew I couldn't get out in the sun. Um, and I was a performer, a regular dancer, singer, performer. And when I would go, it was hard for me to stop going. So that's kind of along the same lines.
Yeah.
I didn't know when to stop pushing.
You
But
hear
I
that, sexy cruise?
I would push, push, push to the
Mm,
extent I got so sick. I had to learn my limit. That's what I'm talking to you, sexy cruise. You've got a limit, and you have to learn when to stop, when that limit is. And when you go over that limit, that's when your lupus is screaming, "Stop!"
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Got a limit. You've got
Yeah,
to learn your limit.
yeah. Because if you don't, your body is going to force you to.
Yes, it'll force you out. It will lay you down too.
Oh yes, I know so much about that. That is so true.
It'll lay you out flat on the ground.
Flat on the flat. I mean, you would be prostrate. I mean, I remember being
Yes.
prostrate on the ground,
Yeah.
just praying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let me just get to the phone so I could call 911.
Yes.
But we always we identify ourselves with our jobs, and of course we
Yeah.
need money to live. But
Yes.
you know,
That's our identity.
yeah, and but you know what? I would rather you ease back on your time as you're working than have you
Then
carried out on a stretcher and they replace you tomorrow.
right. Right.
So I would say my suggestion, Sexy Cruise, would be to cut back on your hours and find something that you maybe can do at home.
Just ease back.
Yeah, just ease back. Not saying to stop altogether.
No, just ease back on those hours.
Absolutely. Um, Diva on Instagram says, "Have either of you had vision issues?" I
Yes.
have. Yeah,
Me.
yeah.
Definitely.
What were your vision issues?
I have a lot of inflammation that happens on and off with
Right.
my eyes. That's why I wear glasses. I
Yeah.
can't wear contacts anymore because of Sjogren's.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
I
think,
also, oh, I haven't told you this. I also have in my left eye, I'm practically blind because I have a tiny hole in my retina from Plaquenil.
oh wow.
Yeah, it's called Plaquenil toxicity.
Right. I'm
They
sorry.
had me,
My dog just pulled out my light, as you can see. I'm
they,
listening to you. Go ahead.
that's
Keep talking.
okay. They had me on Plaquenil too long.
Right.
So I have what they call retinal Plaquenil toxicity. And my retina doctor showed me it looks like a bullseye on both of my eyes, on both of my retina. It looks like a little bullseye, kind of what the disease, Lyme disease, that bullseye looks
Hmm.
like. It
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
looks like that on the back
Wow.
of my eye. But there's a little hole in my retina. And because of that, I can't even see the E on it's just gone. I
Yeah.
was like, wow, I can't see anything. And
Right.
it was strange because I put my hand over it and I didn't even know I couldn't see
Right.
because this guy's making up for it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, wow, that's strange. I didn't even realize I couldn't see.
Right. Right. And I think that vision problems are kind of common.
Yeah.
For me, it's scleritis. I get the whites of my
Oh,
eyes
yeah.
are forever swollen, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just, of course, the vision is horrible. And then when my sugar's out of control, it's kind of bad.
Oh,
So
the sugar out of control too. And my
yeah,
husband.
yeah. So you got to make sure that you're going to your ophthalmologist and making sure. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all are gonna hear us say it all the time. You got to go to this doctor. You got to go to that doctor. Look, it's a team.
My sister used to say this. This is a rich person's disease.
Look, she didn't lie at all.
She didn't. She didn't. I said, I know, honey. I know.
it's so much money that is involved
I know.
with having lupus. It's kind of scary actually.
Yeah.
Darlene says, "Good evening, ladies. Living with symptoms of lupus have always been my normal as well. I was diagnosed when I was 5, and she's currently
You found
58."
me.
Mm-hmm.
Darlene, we could be sisters. I'm almost 50. I'm 54.
Right.
We had symptoms around the same time. I started getting symptoms around 6 years old. So we've been through a lot of the same things. So that's your normal too.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people want to go back to their normal, but both of you just, I mean,
Lupus
that
is
is your
our normal.
normal.
I remember when I asked my mom, why don't other people feel pain like me? I thought everybody felt pain.
Mm.
That was
Wow.
just like a revelation to me that everybody didn't feel pain.
Wow.
My mother was like, "Baby, you're different, not them. It's not the
Right.
other way around.
It's just you're different, baby. You're
Yeah,
special.
I'm special." I remember Mama told me God picked me out to be His soldier because I was special. It was a sweet way of telling me
Right.
I was different.
Different. Yeah, my sister used to say, "Oh, we got you off the flying saucer that landed." I was like,
Yeah,
"Okay, I
my
look
brother
just like
told me
you." So,
too. That was stuff my brother told me too. He was like, "Born
they
a
all.
boy."
It's so funny, but your siblings and your friends that make you laugh. It makes such a difference in your life.
Yes. Oh
It,
yeah.
it's so important. You said that your spirituality is very important to you.
Absolutely.
Tell me a scripture that you can read and it can uplift you immediately.
Oh my gosh. What scripture? There's so many. Let's see. Uh, on the eagle's wings, I think about
Mm,
um, you who dwell in the shelter of the Lord,
mm,
who abide in his shadow for light. Say to the Lord, my refuge, my rock, in whom I trust.
mm. Strong, powerful, and I'm sure that can make you just feel
Yeah.
the strength and the power of your higher power.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Samantha Jones on Instagram says, "I have a question. I was diagnosed with lupus a year ago. I've been trying everything,
Mm.
medicine, natural doctor, but nothing works.
Oh
What,
gosh.
what can you tell her? What advice can you give her?"
I guess keep trying. I mean, you got
Yeah,
to keep trying. It's not. I mean, lupus is so different in everyone. Um, there's somebody out there that can help you.
yeah. Keep looking.
Yeah, keep
Yeah,
trying. This is a terrible, hard disease to live,
absolutely.
but there is help out there too,
Yeah.
and there are all kinds of different ways to help it. I am not a person that's going to say this way or that way because I've experienced all different ways to help it.
Hmm.
There's Eastern medicine, there's Western medicine,
Hmm.
all kinds of ways to help lupus.
Right.
So whatever fits you, please just don't stop looking
Right. And
because
that's
I know untreated lupus is bad.
yeah, yeah. And you know what I would say also, Samantha? I would say you have to give things a chance.
Yes,
Um,
it does take some time.
yeah, we didn't get lupus overnight, and unfortunately, we're just starting to get treatments that will help, but they don't work instantly. It
No.
takes some time to work. And if you have to, go see a therapist so that your mental health stays clear, so that you're not feeling so overwhelmed and you're not just sitting and crying and being
Yeah.
depressed about it. Because if it's one thing that lupus can do, it can really bring you down, you
Yes.
know. And you have to find someone to talk to about it. You have to.
Absolutely. That's what I was talking about earlier. Support groups are so important. People to talk to, support groups that, not support groups that cry about stuff, support
Right.
that are uplifting, that are
Say that again. Yes.
positive support groups. not support groups that are crying
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And
moaning.
right, all the time. Yeah, because you know what? Look, we know lupus is going to get us down. We know lupus is going to try and attack us and do things to us that no person should have to go through.
Exactly.
But the reality of the fact is that you've made it 100% of the time that you thought
That's
that you
right.
wouldn't. So you're an overcomer already.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So, Samantha said, what about if it only works for 2 months and then all your levels go up? What's the thing with lupus, Samantha, is that you're going to have ebb and flows. You're going to be up one moment, you're going to be down one moment. And you got to roll with the punches. And you
Yes.
got to find what works for you to
Yes.
make you help you cope a little bit, and you're so new.
I
So
know.
it's,
Good.
she's still trying to figure out, her body's still trying to figure it out.
But this happened to a friend of mine who's had it for like 40 years, like me. She
Hmm.
was telling me she gets exhausted because she was trying a chemo. It wasn't exactly a chemo. It was one of the other therapies that her doctor was trying her on, and she called me and said, I'm getting tired of this. It's not working. I said, you haven't given it any time. It's
Right.
going to take time. It was something that I had been on previously, and it took me like 3 years for it to work. And
Yeah.
she's like, 3 years. I said, honey, it takes time.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
work overnight.
Yeah. And not only does it take time, but it also takes some action from us as well.
Right. Hmm.
So, I always tell people to keep a food, mood, and just a diary, a journal.
Yes, that's important.
Yeah, so that you know how your food is affecting your lupus, you know how it's affecting your mood, everything that we put in our mouths, everything that we put in our mind, everything we say to ourselves
Yes.
makes a difference in how our body responds to lupus.
So important. Our
It
diet,
really is.
that's a big thing is diet. Really is important. A lot
Yeah.
of people don't think diet is important. It's very important.
Oh, yes, definitely important now. And let's be clear, we're not saying that it's going to cure you,
No, no.
but it's surely going to help you live a better
But
life
it
beyond
does help
this.
you. It helps. Clean living does help a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Ebony says, most definitely see a therapist. I didn't know how much it would help until I actually started seeing one.
Oh, wonderful, Ebony. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, very,
I
very good.
therapist. I still see a therapist. I started seeing a therapist, I think, when I was 17 years old. My mother put me in therapy because she knew I wasn't dealing with lupus well. And I have seen a therapist on and off through my life. And I'm seeing one again now. And I love it. There's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with it. We need to normalize that.
we need to make it okay.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
it,
getting better than where, people have started to accept seeing a therapist, that it's okay. We
right?
really need to normalize all that, though. Mental health needs to be normalized.
Yeah, absolutely. Mental health definitely is important. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. If
Yes,
you
it is.
if you're depressed and you're having some issues, please reach out to the
Yes.
the hotlines and make sure that you are talking to someone. You know what? Sometimes I would get to the point where I would just talk to a wall. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You got to get those feelings out. You have to
Yeah.
let that loose
Somebody.
out of your system. You
Yeah.
know.
Because I'm
So we're
telling you, lupus can cause a lot of depression, can
oh
cause
yeah,
anxiety, off the
oh
wall anxiety.
absolutely, absolutely. That anxiety is just
Terrible.
so stressful. Yes, it's so stressful. And then, from day to day, we have the anxiety. How do you handle the anxiety besides having therapy? Like, do you have any tricks that you do to get your
Got
anxiety
a
down?
load of tricks for anxiety. Post them all on my page too.
Yeah,
I've gotten rid of I don't have any anxiety now.
good,
I don't
good.
have. I haven't had anxiety in years because I dealt with it. I dealt with what was causing it. I
There
had
you
a
go.
lot of stuff that was causing my anxiety. A lot
Right,
of stuff that was locked up inside me that was causing it.
right,
So, once you deal with the direct cause of the anxiety,
right.
you don't have it as much. But
Right.
I always have a bunch of things that I post on the page that I have approved by a psychologist.
Hmm.
I have a friend that's a psychologist. All the stuff is approved by a psychologist on my page, and these are things that definitely help with with anxiety. So
Yeah.
they work.
Yeah. And part of dealing with the anxiety also is finding your spirit. And it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be God, like we have
No,
that spiritual connection. But you have to realize that there's something bigger than you that's keeping you.
that's how it starts out. That's how mine always started out because I was angry at God when my sister died. I left
Absolutely.
God for a long time because I thought he had taken my sister away. I
Hmm.
wasn't going to speak to him, and I didn't. I didn't speak to him for a while, and
Hmm.
I went off on my tangent
Right,
and
right.
left for a long time. But
Yeah,
then I came to a point where I needed something bigger than myself, and then
absolutely.
I finally started calling him God.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
God started becoming friends again.
He's your
Yeah,
buddy, right? He's your
yeah,
pal.
he's my pal now again. So that's
Right.
how it happened. But yeah, so everybody needs something that's bigger than themselves to turn to.
Yes.
That's
Someone, Lupus Freedom, and then I'm going to ask you one last question.
hmm,
Lupus Freedom said, my lupus symptoms only went into remission after I addressed my mental health issues.
woo. That's powerful.
Isn't it though? And
Mm,
not only did you probably address your mental health issue, because when you address the mental health issues, you kind of change your mindset.
yeah,
And when you change your mindset, you sure enough change the way you responded to lupus,
that's
which
right.
changed your body. Absolutely. It's such a waterfall.
It is.
You do one thing, you start from the top. In that mind, there's such a big
Isn't
mind.
that amazing?
It is.
Your mind can control so much.
Absolutely. That mind body connection is real.
It is. It truly
It's so real. Real. I mean, I can't tell you how real it is. How if when you
powerful.
learn, yeah, when you learn how to control what you put in your head.
There's a whole book written about it with somebody that cured themselves of
Abs-
cancer with just the mind.
You know, it's so much. Your mind has it's so
Yeah,
powerful, guys. So make
that's
sure that
power.
you're dealing with that. Look, we are coming up on almost an hour. Can you
Whew,
believe
I can't even believe that.
that? We've
This
been.
has been
It's
fun.
such a pleasure talking to you.
This has been
So
great.
I have one last question because I want to be respectful of your time and everybody else's times on here. I have one last question for you.
Sure.
If you can give three pieces of advice to everyone who is listening,
Yeah.
what would they be?
Okay. My first thing would be to have a very good doctor that listens to you. You want a doctor that listens to you, not one that just looks at the computer. Have a great support group. That doesn't just mean somewhere to complain. That means a place where you can share your thoughts and get good feedback from others, from people who are upbeat and that can support you. And the next thing would be to love on yourself and do some good self care because our bodies get beat up 24/7 by ourselves. So love on yourself. Do some good good self care and make sure you take good care of yourself.
Mm, those are powerful. I love it. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard such an amazing story from Shannon. I mean, she has overcome so many different things and she's still here. She's still smiling. She's still
Still
helping
stay
others. So, and it's just amazing. I want you to make sure that you follow her on Instagram. She is at Lupus Warrior Princess One, and on Facebook and everywhere else at Lupus Warrior Princess. So make sure that you are following her. Make sure you talk to her after this and let her know how much you appreciated her story and how her butterfly wings have been shown and have been shown through a metamorphosis that has made her stronger and stronger each day. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Thank you so much, Raquel. I appreciate it so much.
I'm so excited that I was able to talk to you. I'm so proud of the fight in you. You have revived something in me
Oh,
that
thank
is
you.
amazing.
It's been
So
a pleasure talking to you.
oh, thank you so much, and we will talk again soon.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for tuning in to In the Loop Lupus Live with Shannon Mackie. Look, share this with someone because her story is amazing, and I want everyone to hear it. So thank you, everybody. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of your questions, but you keep go ahead and talking in the chat and keep answering each other and helping each other out. And we will definitely see you next time. Join us tomorrow when we have another lupus warrior, Jerry Rodriguez, who will also share her story. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye. Shannon, stay right there.
Okay.